Hey guys, let's do some Crusader Kings 3 in the third guide that I'm coming out today with diplomacy. So, diplomacy is a very powerful tool. I am Rurik, the Jarl, the troublemaker of Holmgardr. So, as you can see, I've added... So the first thing is, diplomacy alliances can be done through marriage or by people that are within your dynasty that you can naturally create alliances with. When you first start the game, sometimes you have alliances, sometimes you don't. You can see your alliances usually right here. We're going to see who we want to form an alliance with. So for example, let's try Upland. They've got a daughter that's 17. I think she's married. There we go. I think we can arrange a marriage with our daughter. So we have two options. We can do matrilineal marriage, which means any kids born of these two will be brought into my house as long as they're married. Otherwise it goes to the male. Or we can basically have this child born into the other dynasty. Keep in mind, you lose the game when all your dynasty members are dead, but sometimes it might be more beneficial to get rid of them. In this case, this is kind of a bad son to marry because he's got a lisping problem. But for the sake of this, I want to go ahead and arrange the marriage with our daughter. And we're going to do matrilineal, and that's done. So what would that do is essentially secure an alliance with the heir to the throne should the king die. We do have... I do have debug mode on, so you're not gonna, so there could be some, so for example, I could form an alliance with him possibly. Do matrilineal, he won't, so I'll just go ahead, because I want his alliance, because he's got a lot of men. For in this case, he doesn't, but I marry off our daughter, he accepts, hopefully, and now we have an alliance. So I can call him into battle at any time as long as I have the prestige. Prestige is what makes or breaks you. But there's some further tricks you can do with diplomacy that helps with this. So first of all, we're going to go to the lifestyle tree for diplomacy. This is the first big tree that is probably one of my most favorite ones, and it also sometimes will help you survive a succession war, especially when your king's new and all your subjects think that they can rule better than you. So we're going to cover each one in a little bit of a diagnosis here. First thing is, you're going to choose one of these three focuses. I always choose family focus if I want to have kids, because the fertility bonus is really nice. If I'm really desperate for prestige, this is a good one to have too, but I mostly stick to family focus. The +3 diplomacy is nice. And then, of course, you get experience every month when you focus on a particular lifestyle, unless you do mods. Now, covering your diplomat tree, thoughtful is huge. This opinion increases, your opinion gain increases significantly by the gift you send by 100%. So it's easier to get people to like you, which is really nice if you stockpile gold during a successive war. Or succession war, I should say, and you need to appease all your minions. The next one here is the total reduction cost by 20%. That's really strong. And then one of my favorite ones is defensive negotiations. I can form an alliance with a ruler without a marriage. This one is extremely powerful. So, for example, I could try to propose an alliance between us. Unfortunately, because of our faith and everything, he's pretty much going to tell us to go pound sand. And you can see why our faith differs. So sometimes you still want to have the same faith. Sometimes you have to have a little bit better leverage on them than they do on you. In this case, really not very many people want to form an alliance. But we could form an alliance with him. He likes me enough. So this is with the defensive negotiations. So with that, I now have an alliance with Jarl Bjorn. So it treats it the same thing as if I was married. Once the king dies, the alliance is over. And then as you can see, I have my 2 alliances right here in the diplomacy. Now going back to the tree, we have foreign affair effectiveness. So when you're having your councilman here, basically using foreign affairs, it can be more effective. This is used to create prestige, as well as try to get independent rulers to like you more, which can help out when you're trying to make decisions. So going back to the lifestyle tree, we have flexible truces, which you take no prestige penalty when you break truces. They're going to hate your guts and think you're not trustworthy, but you have shorter truces. And then one of my personal favorites when you have a larger empire, forced vassalage. I can use this Casus Belli as a reason to go to war with you. So for example, if I wanted to take Livonia right now, I could declare war and basically say, I want to subjugate you basically by forced vassalage. Or I could do it with this one here. There's forced vassalage. This one is actually more appropriate. This one is actually part of the taking claims. So for 6-3 prestige, I could go to war to subjugate him to make him fall under my empire. Really nice if you really don't want to hand off lands or deal with all that. Just basically say, I conquer you and take that and done. And then accomplished forger. This helps with your priest to help fabricate claims and make it quicker by 75%. And then finally you have the diplomat perk at the bottom here, which basically independent rulers like you by 20, your personal scheme power increases. So this basically helps you make people like you better. So now we're going to go to the August tree. And I'm going to show you kind of where I like a lot of this stuff. So you have benevolent intent. This isn't a go-to. If you have the points and time, in my opinion, there is something a little better. But you're going to want something down at the bottom here. If you have a focus in diplomacy, sometimes you may want to go down to writing history. And I'll explain why in just a second. Firm hand, you get more prestige by your dreads. So if you're one of those from That's True, that you're executing a ton of people, building up your dread, you get more prestige. Perfect. Beautiful tool. Inspiring rule. The more powerful vassals you have in your council, you get more prestige. And then you get more prestige per knight. So, of course, if you have 17 knights, you're getting 34% more prestige, which is huge. True ruler, offer vassalization exception. Sometimes if an enemy is weaker than you, for example, I might be able to say, hey, I'm going to offer you subjugation. In this case, right here is your offer vassalage. He's not going to accept it, but with that perk, 25% more chance that he will just give up and say, yeah, you're really my true liege. I serve you. Then writing history is where you do a commission and epic decision. We'll go through that one shortly. And then life of glory, level of fame impact by 100%, which basically as you tier up in your fame, you get more prestige and stuff like that. Diplomacy per level of fame. This one's pretty nice. So you get 4 or 5 more points of diplomacy as your prestige ranks up. And then August. This one is an alright trait. I mean, if you're going down here, you're probably just wasting a lot of points now. You get an extra prestige, 2 more diplo, and 1 martial. This one here is my personal favorite outside the diplomat tree. Befriend. This has saved my butt multiple times. The risk is if your friend dies, you gain stress. So unless your ruler is very, very immune to getting a lot of stress, befriend can backfire. But when you're in the middle of a succession and you have a whole bunch of people wanting to break, if you can use this befriend scheme and make them your friends, they'll drop out. So it's good to have. The next one here that's a must is groom to rule. When you educate a child, your child will get 1 to 3 extra skill points that is randomly dispersed, which is huge for helping your child grow. Confidence, each friend helps reduce your stress. Heart of the family, I don't really think that's too big of a deal, but this may help if some of your siblings decide they want to try to take over the throne, and they may back off. And then flatterer just makes your befriend scheme a little bit stronger, which is all, this is all still dictated through your diplomacy points. Blood thicker than water, personal scheme against family increased by 25%. I don't use that very often. And then finally, friendly counsel. Each of your friend relations give you +2 random skill points, a maximum of 5. That's pretty good, especially if you get a few different friends and you get some skill points. And then sound foundations, maximum of 5 children. You have 5 kids, you get 5 random skill points. Still, this one is all about building your skill points and staying close to home. And Patriarch is a very powerful one. I like this one substantially. Fertility, so if you stack the family focus with Patriarch, that's +40%. You have a higher chance of having kids. Stress loss, +20%. So if you're doing athletics or writing a book or whatever, you're going to lose more stress. And then House Opinion, the whole dynasty itself. All in all, these are really good trees. This one, I don't really bother taking anything past writing history. So, to cover writing history, when you look at writing history, we'll go right down here, you're going to commission an epic. It's going to cost you gain 150 prestige, and you get a bonus of +2 prestige a month. But, based on how it ends up being, you can get renown and some other things. So let's go ahead and start it. We're going to hire the high chance of an exceptional epic. So we spend 100 gold. And we're going to go ahead and speed up time. So let's go ahead and do that because we're just going to focus on that. My family epic seems to be crossing well, and some lines are already sound like they will be quoted for decades to come, but Banked has a lot of questions about the focus of the story. It'd be easier to answer if he wrote it all first, then I could tell him what I dislike about it, but he insists he needs answers now. You can get stressed out because you're Patriarch. You'll gain more personal prestige when it's done. You'll gain more renown when the epic's done, or you can get piety. I always choose renown because that helps build up your dynasty tree. So we'll go ahead and do that. And Bank has taken a number of liberties in my family epic in regards to Warframe battles. It makes for dramatic scenes by where my marshal has been offended as he furrows his brow at a particular scene. I'm almost relieved when he finally shares his thoughts. It's all nonsense, but this part with the magic sword has given me some ideas. So to explain this, it's a random chance for each event. Every time you commission an epic, it is never the same. So I can have it explained in detail and get martial experience, or I can get story innovations, which gives me +10 advantage when I go to war. Both are really nice. So we'll keep going. There's some nice little buffs that go on here. And then we'll go ahead and flip. We'll get that out of the way. Okay. So now it's dealing with the Spy Master, and you can share the stories. So, for example, this one, you get a Vassal Opinion 10, you get some prestige, you can put it to song, and you can get some money back. We'll just go and do it with our subjects for now. So this takes several months to do, and several events. Okay, so he's exhausted. He wants to stay at night. He's desperate for a few days rest. I lose some money, but I get increased chance of an epic, or I can chain him, which reduces production of an epic. I'll let him take a break. It's going to cost us some money. We have an excellent epic. He's completed it. And because of that, we have 75 prestige. And we got 75 renown for our family dynasty. And because it's an excellent epic, we also get +5 prestige for 10 years. So look, between all those bonuses, you can also join us. So he comes for Enjoy's Court. So look at that. We just jumped up by a huge amount of prestige for those epics. I mean, that's huge. We're generating a lot more prestige. We got some more renowned. We can get closer to taking one of these trees that we want. So commissioning the epic is really good. And you can do that once every 10 years. So if you get that first and you have the money to spend, you can commission those epics multiple times throughout your king's life, depending if you have a dynasty. That kind of gives you a little bit of idea of the diplomacy tree. There is some other things. I'm only going to touch briefly on this because this will be a whole other subject. But in some of these other lifestyles, you can enhance your casus belli, such as this one in martial, minus 50% cost to go to war with people. Have a little bit of things you have to look at. And like I said, we'll cover this all in far more detail in the next series. With that in mind, you can always prepare alliances. You can try to befriend them. So like 78%. And I can tell you why. Because I'm a skilled diplomat. So I got plus 24 in my diplomacy. Heath likes me by 30. But we have some differences. But I also have the befriend scheme going up. So then I would go through this scenario. And we'll speed this up. Then we'll have some roleplay events that basically we go through the whole thing. And we'll just go ahead and go through it. I'm speeding this thing up as fast as humanly possible. As you can see, our progress in the lower right corner. So we're getting that progress up. We befriended him. As you can see now, we're friends, so we get plus 60. But it's still not enough to get him to form an alliance. But with this kind of opinion, you have a less chance of them scheming against you, less chance of them, if they worked under you, betraying you, and there's little events that you can have. If you like these types of guides, please smash that like button, please share and subscribe, and I will get out the next series. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have a fantastic evening.